The restaurant was filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft hum of music drifting in the air. But at one particular table, the laughter was cruel. A group of young office workers leaned toward one another, whispering and chuckling, eyes darting to the corner where a man sat nervously, smoothing down his faded shirt and scuffed shoes. His name was Rowan Clark, the quiet janitor at their company. They had told him that someone special wanted to meet him there, a blind date set up just for him. What Rowan didn't know was that it was all a cruel joke, a way for them to amuse themselves. And when he sat waiting at the table with a small flower clutched in his hand, his heart filled with fragile hope, they watched with smirks, waiting for him to be humiliated. Before I take you deeper into this story of cruelty, redemption, and the shocking twist that silenced everyone in that restaurant, I want to ask you something. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that everyone deserves respect no matter their job or background, then please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel, Fearless Grace, for more heart-touching stories like this one. Rowan wasn't a man used to attention. He had worked as a janitor in the same office building for over a decade, invisible to most of the employees. People often rushed past him without a glance, sometimes leaving trash on their desks, expecting him to clean up after them, other times making jokes that stung even if he didn't show it. But Rowan carried himself with quiet dignity. He showed up early every morning, humming softly as he mopped the floors, his hands rough from years of hard work. His past was not something he shared. To the office workers, he was just the janitor. But to Rowan, this blind date meant something more. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of excitement, a chance to be seen as more than just a man with a mop. The group who had set up the prank thought it would be hilarious. They had pooled money to cover the reservation, telling Rowan that a woman named Leela was eager to meet him. But the seat across from him remained empty. The minutes ticked by, Rowan's nervous smile fading little by little as he checked the door again and again. The employees whispered to one another, stifling their laughter as they watched him wait, his flower beginning to droop in his hand. Rowan's life hadn't always been this way. Once, years ago, he had dreams bigger than himself. He had studied engineering in college, with hopes of building something lasting, something that would matter. But life had thrown him more hardships than he could handle. His father's sudden death left him to care for his ailing mother, and when she passed, medical bills drained him of everything. His career never took flight, and to survive, he took the janitorial job. He told himself it was honest work, but deep down, he wrestled with shame, feeling like the world had forgotten him. At that table, the weight of all those years pressed down on him. When 30 minutes passed with no sign of anyone coming, Rowan stood slowly, his shoulders heavy, his hands trembling. He placed the flower down on the empty seat, ready to leave before the laughter around him grew louder. But just as he turned, a woman's voice rang out. "Rowan," she said, her tone soft but sure. The room went still. The young employees who had orchestrated the prank froze in their seats, their smirks vanishing. Because standing there wasn't just any woman. It was Evelyn Marlowe, the CEO of the very company where they all worked. She had arrived earlier that day from an overseas trip and had come to the same restaurant for a private dinner. And by sheer chance, she had overheard whispers of what was happening. Evelyn wasn't just the leader of the company. She was a woman with a fierce sense of justice, someone who believed in treating every employee with respect, no matter their role. She walked toward Rowan's table, her presence commanding silence. The waiters stood straighter, the workers shrank into their seats. Evelyn looked at Rowan, not with pity, but with a warm recognition. "I hope I'm not too late," she said, pulling out the chair across from him and sitting down as though it had been her place all along. Rowan blinked, stunned, his voice caught in his throat. "Why you want to sit with me?" he asked, unsure if this was another part of the cruel trick. Evelyn nodded firmly. "Yes, I'd be honored." The entire restaurant fell silent, the cruel laughter dying instantly. The employees who had set up the prank could only watch in horror as their boss, the CEO, began a conversation with the man they had treated as a joke. Evelyn asked Rowan about his life, his interests, his dreams. And for the first time in years, Rowan felt seen. His words came slowly at first, but Evelyn listened intently, her eyes never leaving his. With each passing moment, Rowan's confidence grew, his voice steadier, his back straighter. By the time dessert was served, something had shifted. The tables around them whispered not with mockery, but with awe. Rowan wasn't just the janitor anymore. In that moment, he was a man whose story demanded respect. Later that week, Evelyn called a company-wide meeting. Everyone gathered in the main hall, the same employees who had laughed at Rowan, now shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Evelyn stood at the podium, her voice clear and resolute. She spoke about dignity, about the value of every role in the company, from the top executives to the janitorial staff. Then she shared Rowan's story, how he had given years of quiet service, how he had sacrificed dreams for family, and how he still showed up every day with quiet strength. This company, she said firmly, is built not only by those in corner offices, but by those who keep its foundation clean and steady. If you cannot respect that, you do not belong here. The room erupted in applause, but the loudest cheer came from those who had once overlooked Rowan the most. And in that moment, something remarkable happened. Rowan wasn't just the janitor anymore. He was a symbol of resilience, of dignity, of quiet strength that refused to be crushed. Over the months that followed, Evelyn worked closely with Rowan. She discovered his background in engineering, his old passion for design. With her encouragement, Rowan began training again, picking up projects within the company. He didn't stop cleaning the floors right away. He said the work grounded him, but he began to dream again. Employees who once mocked him now greeted him with respect, some even apologizing for their cruelty. Rowan accepted their words, but he never let bitterness grow in his heart. Instead, he used every chance he had to remind others that kindness matters more than status. And as for Evelyn, she remained a true friend. She hadn't stepped in to play the role of his blind date, just for show. She had done it because she believed in people like him, people who often went unseen. Their bond became an example for the entire company, a reminder that humanity and compassion were worth more than any title. One evening, nearly a year after that humiliating night turned extraordinary, Rowan sat in the same restaurant, this time surrounded by colleagues who now called him a friend. He wore a crisp new suit Evelyn had gifted him, his hands steady, his smile bright. On the table in front of him rested a single flower, not a symbol of waiting in vain anymore, but a reminder of how far he had come. Rowan had once been set up as the punchline of a cruel joke, but that day had turned into the moment his life changed forever. He was no longer invisible. He was proof that respect and kindness could transform a story of humiliation into one of triumph. And as the night drew to a close, Rowan stood to thank everyone, his words simple but powerful. Never mistake someone's job for their worth. You never know the story behind the uniform. You never know the heart behind the hands. His voice carried through the room, and this time, the silence was filled not with shame, but with reverence. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, I ask you to please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Fearless Grace for more emotional and inspiring stories. And before we end, I have a special request for you. Comment below what you believe respect truly means in today's world. Your words might just inspire someone else.